Good morning. We are in Hilchis Chirus, and we're going to learn one Rambam, and a little different than usual. We're going to spend time on the Tshuvas Rambam about this halacha that we have in this Rambam, and how the Rambam understands this halacha through the Tshuva, and how that relates to other halachas that he brings there. So in Hilchis Chirus, we find a very interesting halacha, and that is Machar halacha Perek Vav halacha Yud Aleph. Machar Asabayis, if somebody sells his house, or he gives it as a gift, or he bequeaths it to somebody. Ein hasheni yachol lohitziyai atsheyediyai mekaydim. If there is a renter there, the second person, the guy who bought it, inherited it, or got it as a gift, cannot just evict the tenant. Atsheyediyai mekaydim shleishim. Either he gives him a 30-day notice, or he has to give him 12-month notice, depending on the situation of what it was set up. Now, this is the key line that we have to focus in on. The Seicha says to him, Ein koichacho, yeser mikoyach zeh shezachisa bebayis emachmasa. You bought it from someone, so you can only buy what he had. He didn't have the ability to throw me out. Therefore, you can't throw me out either. A very interesting concept. The Gemara uses a lashon very often. Ma mocha rishon l'sheni kol zchus v'liyadei. What did the first guy sell? Anything that he has. Can't sell what you don't have. Okay. Now, this is just, first of all, incredible to see the way they wrote in those days about the Rambam. In Shailas Tshuvas Rambam Simin Shin Sadi Gimel. That's where you'll find it. It's also printed along with the Rambams in some places. In other words, on the Rambam. Brings a Shaila. Now this Shaila was sent to the Rambam by a student of his named Rabbeinu Pinchas. And the Rabbeinu Pinchas asked on the Shaila, right? Or at least he had an opinion on the Shaila. And he asked the Rambam, he should tell him if his box was good or not. Now, this is the Shaila, and we'll go through Rabbeinu Pinchas's answer and how the Rambam responds to that. We're not going to read inside any of it. We'll just go through the Shaila. So Ruvain had if Reuben had a partnership with Shimon. Now the halacha goes as follows: if you have a partnership on a field, but the field is not big enough to divide it, to forcibly divide it, and so the sugya and Masechtas Bava Basra, and we're not really going to go into that in detail, but we'll just give the basic rules. The field has to have 8 amos, 8 cubits. So it should be able to be divided that each one afterwards walks away with a sufficient part that's called a field for him, for usage. That's called yeshba kedei chalukah. If it is smaller than that, it's ein bo kedei chalukah. Now, what happens if you have a partnership that's yeshba kedei chalukah? Any partner can turn to the other one and say, "I've had it with you. Let's split ways." Or, "I didn't have that. I love you, but we got to split ways. I want to have my own." What happens if it's ein bo kedei chalukah? So there's a halacha called good or egoid. agud, which basically means let's sever ourselves from each other. And the only way to do that, since it's ein b'kedei chalukah, is I tell you, either you buy me out. In other words, the one who initiates has to give the offer. Either you buy me out, or I buy you out. Now, what kind of price can he set? It seems that he can set a high price. I can say, I am offering you to buy out at so-and-so. You match it, buy me out, no problem. You have a right. That's the right he has to give. Which means basically it's a forced sale. That's the key word here. So this Reuven and Shimon had a shutfus in an ein b'kedei chalukah, which means it was the only way to part ways by demand of one or the other, and not by agreement, is using this din of good aged. So Reuven sold it to Shimon. He didn't want to pay. He didn't want to buy it. Now here, this property had a dira, had an apartment which was rented to Levi. So comes Shimon and says to Levi, "You're out because that's it. I bought it now." So Levi, I looks at the Rambam, Perokim, says you can't do that. Because you don't have more schus than he does. Yes, I do. I got it now. Good, I got it. So what's the nakud of the Shiloh? What's the point of the Shiloh? It's a beautiful piece. This wasn't a regular sale. It wasn't a sale initiated by interests of selling, of buying. It was a forced sale, which is called gudei aged. And therefore, do the regular rules that the Rambam mentions above apply? Or do we say that bottom line, I got it from you. I can't get more than you had. Or no. It's like I evicted you. I can evict him. So, Rabbeinu Pincha says that you cannot compare a regular sale to a sale of gudei aged. True, in a regular sale, you can say that you only bought what he sold you, and the time of Sirius is Teichas, you can't throw me out. And not only that, it goes a step further. There's a certain longness, a practical aspect. When when Shimon bought it, knowing that Levi's in there, that was part of the deal. When you on a normal sale, it's not only my mocha also has a second aspect to it, which he adds, which is that you bought it knowing I'm here, so you assume that you didn't bought it to throw me out. You know, the norm is you bought it knowing I'm here. You assume I'm going to continue paying you the rent now. Oh, but a mechira, gudei aged, that's a mechira balkarche. And therefore, says Rabbeinu Pinchas, you throw the guy out against his will. I could throw Reuven out, just like I threw Reuven out. I threw Reuven out, basically. Shimon and Reuven were partners. I threw Reuven out. Shimon comes to Reuven, get out or buy me out. So I can throw Reuven out, I can throw you out. So Shimon says to Levi, you're not better than Reuven. But then there is one line in his answer, which I think we'll eventually get to. And I want to read the line. That this dire is a medes dire zul dina the good I aged. When we made a shutvis, in our shutvis lies the din of good aged, that I can evict you with this approach. And therefore he tells him, you're out. The rental is out, just like I nullified sort of the sale, our original partnership, and I nullify your schiras. Those are all the svaras of Rabbeinu Pinchas. However, and he turns to Rabbeinu Moshe with the words, Rabbeinu Moshe Yechila Elam. The respect that the Rambam carried by his students and the awe was like incredible, just reading the way he writes them. And the Rambam's humility in his response is also so obvious, it's incredible. The Rambam tells him, I don't agree with you. So the Rambam compares, just to note, the Rambam uses a comparison from the din of good agay to another halacha that exists, which we recently learned in the Rambam, which is called dina de bar metzra. Now, Rabbi doesn't mention that, but the Rambam does. Now, why does he mention it? On the surface, it would seem he's just bringing it in to show the difference between them. Because in bar metzra, you could throw people out. And he explains that the reason is because the Rambam uses a lashon by bar metzra, that he's the shliach of the Bala Metzah. And therefore, if somebody rents it, the Bala Metzah can throw him out. Because the guy who bought it really didn't have a right to buy it, sort of. He's buying it on behalf of the neighbor who really has the rights to this field. However, by good again, that's not the case. It's not a shlichus, not a shliach of anybody. The shutuf is not a shliach of his other shutuf when he rents it to him. So the renter turns to the Seicha and says the exact same thing that the Rambam mentioned in Perlstein in the Shiur. You could not, your shutuf who rented to me could not throw me out and nullify my contract and my rental agreement. Second, you knew it was the same logic. You knew it was rented to me. You bought it with that intent that I stated. However, says the Rambam, right now, Shimon can turn to Levi and say, okay, you say you got the power that he had. Good ayagad. Go ahead. Buy me out. In other words, what he can't say, buy me out, rent it out to me. Either you rent it out to me for the price so and so, or I can or I can throw you out. Okay. Now, assuming that the way the respect that Rabbeinu Pinchas has to the Rambam, we can assume that he put down his opinion and accepted the Rambam's opinion. However, there is a lot to understand over here. What is the difference? What did Rabbeinu Pinchas understand in this halacha? And how did the Rambam understand this halacha? And therefore will give us an insight into their understanding of how this works. So, according to, where does this din of good ogaid come from? So the Rosh in a tshuva, Klal Tzadik Ches and Zion says that it was the so you got to have some kind of way out of a partnership that's aimed at the Chalukah. Because partnerships are either great or bad or terrible. They're rarely parav. The Rabbi writes, it's also a takona. So they made the same thing. That they should make each other, otherwise it can cause damage to each other. The Kiryas Sefer says that it's a din min atera. He says that if it has din chalukah, that's one thing. But din chalukah, it has a din of it's a min atera. Now, where does this din apply? So Rabbi Basra says that this is only by the din of good it doesn't apply all over. People bought, you can't force anybody out. we became shutfim. We made a partnership. We're stuck forever. But let's say we didn't make the partnership. We received this partnership through Yerusha or Matana. So that's where the din of good applies. And the Rabbi applies that to Schiras just as well. And he says, only by Yerusha Matana. The Tur, Siman Kufayin Aleph, brings Rabbi going and a tshuva that it argues on the subconcept, says that it's shaykh by any case, shutfim and shtatim, and that is the Rambam Shita. The Rambam writes clearly, that's in Hilchos Shenim. The Rambam writes that you couldn't. It doesn't matter. Yerush Matan. It doesn't matter. Kol Shadav. Kol Sheyesh B'neim Shutfus Bekarka Vikesh Echem and Shutfus Lechalek. Little Chelki Levade, and that's it. And that's what he bases Halacha base, and that it's shaykh by Shiur also. Okay. The Rambam they also talks about another shaykh. Writes ve'ein ha'oni koifes os liknis chelkai elim kein amalei knei mimeni amecher li ve'reini leive v'koina aymeichel acher v'koina din ima. If he says, I want to borrow money and I'm gonna, or I can sell it to somebody else, that's also a way of causing good dayaget. That it's shaykh to schiras and mechira. I can rent it to somebody, sell it to somebody. So he wants to say, so the Mrs. Zalman wants to say in Hilchos Shenim that this din is because every shutav has a schus to say good dayaget or okay. I'm sorry, it's not a schus in the shutfus, but it's a din best. Sort of kaifing on me this and that. And since it's not good for them to stay shutfus, you can tell them I want to do it any way I want. Doesn't matter if I'm selling it to somebody else. That would be I'm going to buy it from you. I can sell it. I can tell either I sell it or you buy me out. The Rosh who argues, which we didn't learn inside, but the Rosh says that you can't do this. You can't sell somebody else. You can't claim I'm going to sell it to somebody else because he holds us as chus shutfus, and he also didn't buy it. Okay, for me this now. Okay, I want to suggest a little different approach to the Rambam, and I think that'll help us understand Rabbeinu Pinchas and the Rambam's the discussion. Rambam Ilchis Shchenim, Perikalam Halacha Beis, which we referenced before, but I want to read it. Very, very long Rambam. I'm just going to go through quickly the main points. If you two shutfim who hold a property that has no din chalukah, you can't divide a keli and you can't divide a person. You can't split them up. Only Shlomo Melech can do that for the parents when he wanted to prove who the child is. Either you sell me for this and this amount, or buy it to me. Hadin imay, interesting lashon. Hadin imay. The kaifin is anit the limkan chaver liknas imay. But if he doesn't, any yachalak say liknas imay. If I don't want to buy, I can't make you sell. I mean, if I don't want to, right? If I don't want to buy, I can't make the. If I don't want to buy, I can't make you buy. Because the guy can say I don't want. And then he goes on this whole thing along Arichas, and he says the halacha about ani kaifes usher, which we said before. So I want to just touch on a couple of questions, a couple of issues. First, why did the Rambam wait to this din of shutzim? He already had hilchis shutzim. Why didn't he mention it over there? The lashon hadin imay is a very rare word in the Rambam. Matter of fact, it's so rare you don't find it anywhere. This is it. This is the only place where he uses that lashon. In the Gemara, you find such a lashon. Hadin in me, then ima, then imay, but not in Rambam. In Baba Basra, Daf Yud Gimel, which is the sugi of Good Dayag, the Gemara doesn't use that lashon. The Gemara just says, "Ein b'hem kedei l'zeh ma'ur." Rabbi Yehuda didn't give the good daget. That's the good daget. That's it. Doesn't say didn't imay. So perhaps we can prove from the fact that the Rambam puts this in Hilchos Shchenim is because it's not a din of shutfus. It's a din of Shchenim. This is part of the halachas of Hilchos Shchenim. And even in we see it's a din also in the shvachos or kalim, but that's a result of the fact that just like there's a din of shchenim in living together, there's a din of usage together. But it's not because we are shutzim. That was just like shchenim have to or figure out how to live together. And there's whole halachas of what each one is responsible to the other. So they have to learn how to deal with things together. Shutfim have to learn how to be shchenim in usage of things, sort of thing. So could be that the Rambam's usage of the word hadin imay, that this is nothing that I was trying to stress. This is not a din of shutfis where I own this halacha. No, it's a claim. It's a claim. It's a shchenim claim. And the Benyan use a lashon that this is that this is not just a point of midas daim. But it's a real good claim via the chayna, and therefore he writes that he has a right for this chayna. Okay, if it's not a din in our shutfis, it doesn't matter how we became shutfim. If it's a din of shutfim, that because we inherited something or this, so there's a din that has such type of shutfim, which didn't make up our shutfis in a certain way. It doesn't matter how we made up our shutfis, but we're still shaynim. After all, and that was still shaynim. Doesn't matter how they became shaynim. In other words, the svara to say that it doesn't work when they bought together, what's the svara? Because we bought it Amanaske, we should forever. But that's not the gay. It has to do with shutfis. It has to do with the fact that bottom line, we're living together and we can't live together. And therefore, it doesn't matter if I'm going to buy it or I'm going to sell it to somebody else. Because it's going to help my shchenus. Okay, so I don't want to suggest that perhaps from the Lashon of Rabbeinu Pinchas and the Rambam, we can understand that this is the Kuda HaMachlekes, or what the Svaras were. They can't say Machlekes because I don't believe that Rabbeinu Pinchas continued his opinion after the Rambam's opinion. But Rabbeinu Pinchas uses the Lashon Achash Ahoisei Medes Dira Zul Ledina de Gudai Agay Balkarche Machra V'Yatz. In other words, it's a din in the shutfis. And if it's a din in the shutfis, then this is a part of my ownership is that I have a right to get rid of you. So I can get rid of you, I can get rid of the guy who you rented because there's a certain ownership that I have over this property, or that we both have a shutfis, that I can evict you in a process of good yoga. So this is a chelik of the shutfis. So if I can say, this field has in it the power of good yoga. So you can't compare this to a regular sale. But the Rambam also didn't shchena. They're living together. So it's a tviyah. When I want you out, I come and I go and I say, that didn't I have a right. It's a schus to demand you should get out. That's all I have. It's a schus. But it's a schus in shchena. And schus in shchena, I have no right to throw you, the other guy, out. I never had, you didn't lack in your ability to rent to him. So how am I going to nullify his rental agreement? So since it comes from Hilchos Shchena, he brought this din in Hilchos Shchena. But because he's talking about Hilchos Shchena, he's telling you that Hilchos Shchena is not a din in the shchenus, in the shutfus. It's a din in the shchenus, and shchenim is like a din imoy. It's a claim at best. So I had a problem. I have another din in Hilchos Shchenim where I could have it, which is din in the Bametzra. It's also a din in Hilchos Shchenim. Oh, so that Rambam has to he'll just bring it some. Because he wants to write a tshuva. That's why he writes, I want you to understand that although both are Hilchos Shchenim, there's a difference between them. There, he's a shliach of the Baal Metzger. Okay. I don't want to end with one thing. While the way that Rambam presents the Baal Metzger as a shlichus of Baal Metzger, there is a tshuva of his son, about Rambam and Rambam, that it would seem that he has a little different take in the shlichus of the Baal Metzger. And I don't want to go into it now because it's not at all negate to our sugya, but it is interesting if you get a chance to look up the Shuvah, Siman Ayin Ches, and if anybody can come to a way to understand how the Rambam and his son agree with each other, it would be nice to hear. Anyways, I gesund und stark, Hatzlocha Rabbi. It would be great. Sei gesund.